Start the recording. Hey everyone. Oh, you got a little quiet there. Hey everyone, this is episode 373, being recorded on October 22nd, 2019. This is the first day of Onslaught, and this is going to be the raw version of the show that's going to go out on YouTube, and also we're streaming it out. And then the edited podcast will go out tomorrow. And Doc is still working on some technical issues. He had a computer reboot. Doc had a computer Windows had to be sort of reinstalled, and so he's still working out a few little technical glitches, but we'll get going as best we can here. So let me get I'm going to get my Twitch stuff up here, and that way I can also have the show, where is it? I can have the notes, or the chat rather. There we go. Ah, come on. Okay. Looks like the stream is looking just fine. All right, so let me tweet this out. Although I heard there was like an outage, a Twitter outage, like affecting like the East Coast and a bunch of other places. Okay.
All right, so now I'm testing again. And testing this setting.
Okay. You're definitely a lot louder than the little noise. Okay. There we go. I'll go ahead and retweet it on my personal account.
All right, so I'm testing with my normal setting. I didn't change anything.
Okay.
Lines look flat when I'm not speaking.
Good. You sound pretty good too, and you're a lot louder, which is nice.
Yeah. So I'm going to conclude, Chill, that black headset that I was wearing a few seconds ago is a dud at this point.
Okay.
It seems like when I connect it into the computer, it just has feedback.
Okay.
Which is no good for what I use it for.
Right, right. Okay.
So I am recording. Audacity says I'm in stereo. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter, actually. I always end up changing stereo to mono, and it only takes a few seconds. It'll save you some bandwidth if you care about that, you know, if you just record it in future in mono, but it doesn't really matter. All right. If you're ready to go, then I think I can get this going. Let's see. Oh, let's see. So you got Audacity rolling, and I think that's all we need to get going, right? My Audacity's going as well. I think. Yeah, I think we're ready. All right, going in 5 then. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that is taking one last look, sir, at my friends. This is episode 373, being recorded on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019. I'm your host, Chill, and with me is my co-host, Dr SWTOR. Hey, Doc.
Hi, Chill. You're bringing in the tears from the trailer right off the bat.
Exactly. Of course, we'll be hitting on that later on. Yeah, of course, we're not really taking a last look here on OotiniCast, but we are taking a last look at the KotFE KotET era, because this is going to be, you know, going back to a normal style, non-chapter driven style of expansion. So that's pretty exciting. But go ahead and let us know like what you've been up to in game, and we'll just start off a little normally, and then we'll drift off into this is gonna be a very sort of like looking back, looking forward episode, and that's what we're planning on doing. And also let me know when you're gonna start downloading Onslaught, and I will do the same thing. We're gonna download it during the podcast, which is maybe a little nutty. I hope it works, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. When I woke up this morning, I was so amped to do the episode this way. I think it's going to be a fun thing to maybe listen to a year from now as a time capsule.
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks of playing SWTOR have been really reflective for me. Very little,
Yeah.
very little looking forward. I mean, just excitement for 6.0 definitely has been building, but just like a lull, like you can't get more gear. Your shots at the boss this week are the last ones you're going to get for a month or two.
Yeah, maybe so, yeah.
Yeah, so it's sort of like final exams, kind of. It's you go in, you want to win the fights. Either you do or you do not, because you're not trying anymore. So the story of my 5.0 rating is there are a lot of things that I did, and a lot of things that I did many times, and some things that I did only once, and a lot of things that we can't say I tried them anymore. I just did not do them. So Yoda is always in my head, obviously. If you've been listening to the show, you know that I love the little sayings that we have that can guide our lives. And so that's really where I am at 5.0, and my relationships with people are in very different places right now than they were 3 months ago, 3 years ago. And it's just, it feels like a transition. And I really am excited to talk with you about some of those things. So I want to hear from you how your weeks have gone. And before I get super distracted, I think I am going to just open up the launcher.
Okay, I'll do that at the same time then.
Password. Yeah.
Let's get it going. So I'm get the launcher going here. It's going to be in the background, so I'm going to assume it's going to take even longer than usual, just because my computer's not going to be putting any priority on it, because that's how Windows works. All right, yeah, it says initializing.
Yep.
And reorganizing data. Okay, I'm going to minimize it, and we'll just let it go, and maybe it'll get done during the show. maybe not, because of especially since it's being put in the background, but it's all good. Let's see. We actually got going pretty quickly here since then. So it looks like just Deck is in the chat so far. So we'll just I'll have to check it again later. But
hey, Deckion.
Deck's at work, and yeah, unfortunately he says he can't do his download. So yeah, understandable.
Well, you can listen.
Does that mean the show's over? Yeah. Well, I'm sure, Doc, you're going to be wanting to play as soon as you can. While I want to play as soon as I can, I really should do the editing first before I get into the game, because otherwise I'm just going to put it off and put it off. I'm going to want to play, I'm going to want to see all the story and see if I can get to 75, or how close I can get, how fast is it. I don't know. Maybe I, get my other new character going and all that. But anyway, what I've been doing this last couple weeks since the last episode, Chilastigirl, who's going to be my main going forward, that and the Mirror class, which I'm actually going to start in Onslaught. It's going to be a Nautilin. Chilastigirl's decently geared. She's only command 250, but I managed to, spend some stuff and, do a couple of operations with the guild and so on and so forth. And she's around 248 gear on average, 247, 248. So pretty good, actually. So there wasn't really a point in getting to 300 because I've already done the achievement for that class. And in fact, I got them for all the base classes, so that there wasn't really a whole lot of point in trying to sprint and get the last 50 command levels for her. It's not going to make a difference. So I decided,
you're at 0 today, Chill.
Yeah, exactly. Now 0 renown. I have no renown at all. Oh no. I decided to go through the alliance alerts and get some companions back, because it's not something that I've really ever focused on. Usually what I do for any given character is I do the alliance alerts for the class characters for that character, and I usually leave most of the rest alone. for the most part. So it was interesting seeing a lot of these from the point of view of non-class characters, and often like opposite side characters and stuff like that. And so I did like, I saw one that I just had never done before. It was this sort of weird murder mystery that you end up with a choice of two companions. One's a new one, and one's a returning one from one of the Sith classes. And that was kind of interesting. You know, I wouldn't say you have to piece the puzzle together yourself, because really it was like just, you know, making sure you click on everything and choose all the options. And as long as you do all the conversational choices, it will lead you to the next thing pretty much automatically. But it was an interesting sort of effect where you're like, where there's this story sort of unraveling, and you're trying to figure out where this person has gone that you're trying to catch up with to help, and, you know, what's happened to them, and so on. So that was kind of cool. I like that one. It was fun getting Blizz back. I hadn't done that except for one bounty hunter one time, and then after Blizz, now they have Gus. You can get Gus back as well if you want to. And you can also, most of the companions, not all of them, but most of them, you can actually sort of like tell them you don't want them, basically, or sometimes you even kill them and attack them and kill them and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, the Gus one was really funny. I think I had seen that one once before as well, but it had been a long time, and I kind of forgot like all the details of it. And it was great to get Gus back. I mean, he's a very polarizing companion. There are people who really hate him, but I'm on the pro Gus side. I love Gus. I think he's a lot of fun, and I find him very funny. And it's interesting, like when you get him back as a companion, but not as a class companion, he has like different. When you click on him, he says different things than he used to. Because I remember I used to use him as a companion, especially since he was the healer for that class, and back in the day that was pretty important. So, you know, you click on him and he says a certain number of things, and you get used to what he says. And now he says like different stuff, which is kind of cool. I don't remember all of them, but you know, it was nice. It was nice to see that they'd got him back and actually had him do some more of those. So, and I basically finished
really cool.
all the alerts except I didn't do Bodar, which is the you know, you have to do the Eternal Championship thing. Yeah, I didn't. Maybe I would have done that one, but that was yesterday was when I was doing Blizz and Gus, so I ran out of time. And yeah, and then it's just like, you know, looking forward to the end of the KotFE KotET era and onto Onslaught. So. Yeah, if you want, I think we should just start sort of like talking about like the end of the KotFE KotET era and moving on to Onslaught.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, before the show, I was chatting with you about where our episode today is going to go. And in my mind, 4.0 and 5.0, they obviously fit together. It's one story. You know, you defeat Arkin at the end of KotFE. Sorry, spoilers if you're like 4 years behind.
Yep.
And then, you know, Valen becomes the focus, and then surprise Valkorian's the focus. So it's this whole evil Eternal Fleet family. And so I really like the story. I think there's a lot of really cool Star Wars beats in it. And the idea that I can create the character that's driving the action in that story is one of the coolest things ever.
Right.
And, you know, if you consider Knights of the Old Republic as the beginning of this franchise, that's one of the coolest things about Revan, actually, is it is a character that they created for you in the story. But you get to decide which face he or she has. You decide what the play style is. So you have that ownership. So psychologically, SWTOR just amps that up to the nth degree because it's an MMO. And so that ownership we have for our characters is even more expanded than those original PC game kind of RPG concepts.
Right.
And 4.0 and 5.0 were just a really cool exercise in seeing what kind of story you can build with these large MMO characters that, you know, all these subscribers and players across the world have created. And can we give them an epic Star Wars story that's the same for everyone, and maybe make some illusion that the choices are your choices. And I just, from that angle, it's been a lot of fun. And my life is so different now compared to where it was when we first started as the Outlander, that I really want to hit on that whole idea. But I want to pause me here and Chill. What was this Fallen Empire, Eternal Throne era of the game for you?
Yeah. Okay. So I like how this is it is the end of an era. The story basically wraps up the Emperor's story. I mean, and the Emperor was everything in the Old Republic. I mean, it was from KOTOR all the way until the end of KotET. That was, you could consider it all the Emperor's story, because he is underlying everything. He's underlying all of the Republic and Sith Empire conflict. He creates the Zakulan Empire. He, even when he falls, then he's inside your brain as the Outlander. Right. Then he retakes the throne, and you have to take it back from him, and you have to fight him inside your own brain. And this is all the Emperor. And basically, like, everything outside of the Republic in the Star Wars galaxy is the Emperor's doing, basically. And so this was obviously a huge character. This is like the equivalent of, like the end of like Harry Potter. I know he's the bad guy, not the good guy, but like, when you have the end of Harry Potter and like all the stories wrapped up, the villain's defeated, and he gets to, live on his life, and there's basically nothing more to tell really about Harry, except, he has kids, and it takes like 2 pages to tell. It's sort of the same with the Emperor. It's like, he was so much of the Old Republic, and now we're going to have this expansion where you see what happens in a galaxy without the Emperor. Like, what does that look like? How different is the Sith Empire? How, are they going to react the same way as the Republic would? Are they going to be, different in some ways? What is our society going to sort of reassemble it? How are they going to look? It's going to be, to me, that's going to be a very interesting question to see answered. Clearly Malgus is going to be part of it. He's in all the trailers and so on. It seems like he could even, maybe end up being sort of the main villain, as opposed to whoever actually sits on the Sith Empire's throne. But we'll see. Maybe he takes over the throne pretty soon. We don't know. That's an interesting question, partly because also Asina is like, there's different things that happen to her depending on your choices, so they're gonna have to reconcile that, which kind of tells me that maybe Malgus is just going to take over the throne no matter what. In other words, whether it was Asina on the throne or whether it was someone else, probably Malgus is going to be either the person on the throne, or at the very least, the main power, and then whoever's on the throne as a figurehead. We'll see. That's my guess, but I don't know. We'll see. It's gonna be a lot of fun to find that out. And I'll also be curious to see like how long the story is, because, well, we even looked this up right before the show. KotFE was almost exactly 4 years ago to the day. It was October 27th, 4 years ago, 2015, and then KotET was just a little bit over a year after that. So we've had like 3 years of KotET, which is a long time to wait between expansions. But then it was only 1 year between the other, between KotFE and KotET. But we've got all this, we have like all this like tension waiting for more story, but that was all like, it was all chapter based. So right, because of that, I don't know if you probably remember, like, the original KotFE chapters, like, if you were a subscriber, you got like the first 9 chapters, but then you had to wait for the rest of the chapters, and they released them like one at a time. And then they did it a little different in KotET, where pretty much it all came out at once, but it was still sort of chapter based, and it still took a long time to get through that. I mean, even if you're trying to hustle through, even if you're like spacebar, which I never would, but people do, if you're trying to spacebar through and go really fast through the story in KotET, it would take a while. It would take a while to get through that. And I'm curious to see like how much story, how long it takes to get through the story. Are you 75 at the end of the story? Are you close to 75? Assuming you have a double XP bonus, which I'm going to make sure my character does have, you know, or are you going to be miles away from 75? You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
And they can obviously, they could adjust that however they want, like, because all they need to do is take a look at how long their story is. And if they needed to, they could just make the amount of XP you need for the next level be just so huge that, you know, that you're not 75 by the end of the story, or whatever, or vice versa. Like if they realize the story is really long, but you're 75 for like half of it, you know, they could adjust that too. So,
yeah, I think they're going to give us a way. I mean, just playing the game on the PTS, you know, it's clear, even though there's no story over when you're playing on that side of things, that the mechanisms that guide you through the play of the game are designed to give us a sizable chunk of time for us to enjoy being in the Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah.
I want to build off of what exactly 5.0 was, because KotET gave us the resolution to our time with Valkorion in our head, which is definitely my kind of story. Like the villain is psychologically you, like a part of you.
Yeah.
I
about
love
a Jungian shadow.
Yeah. The oh wow, you were taking notes in psych class. Chill, good job. Yeah, and then but there were actually other phases of content that we could say are just as much the backbone of the 5.0 story. We got Iokath, the return of operations to the game after being
that's true.
Abandoned. And just the journey of doing, the launcher's done, chill. So how long did that take?
Wow, that was really fast for you. Of course, I've got some more stuff going on mine. Mine's still reorganizing because I have it minimized, so it's still reorganizing data. It's got a ways to go.
All right, so everyone listening.
It doesn't matter to me though. Like I say, we're gonna
14 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna do the show. It's probably faster if you. I mean, if I was gonna try to do it as fast as possible, I would have nothing else running and I would have it right on top so the computer just focuses on it. Like I say, it really doesn't matter for me because like after this, I'm gonna take a little break, like I always do after a show, and then I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna edit because otherwise I'm gonna be tempted not to.
Well, don't worry,
and we have to get the podcast out by tomorrow, so yeah. No, so it doesn't matter how long it takes to me, but yeah, it's good to know that it can take 15, 20 minutes or whatever. So that's cool.
Yeah.
That's the tip of the week. Yeah. Minimize everything else. Put it right on top if you want it to go as fast as possible. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, my tip of the week was just keep an open mind and remember what video games are all about. Enjoy 6.0. So
there we go.
There you go, everyone. But back to 5.0, we got Iokath and Gods from the Machine, and we got the one boss at a time rollout of those bosses, and eventually we got Master Mode for that operation, which that was a return to the game too, because the Shadow of Revan ops do not go to Master Mode.
Right.
And then we got the Traitor Trilogy for the Flashpoints. And Crisis on Umbara actually was one of my terrible goals that I had for much of the 5.0 era, just getting to that spider tank. Me and my wife were playing together in the game at the time, and that was something that we just struggled for a long time to take down in Master Mode.
Oof. Wow, Master Mode.
That was a big part of what 5.0 was for me. And then after that, we got Osis, which was very challenging for me to accept because it gave us a whole new level of gear, and I really hated the process of playing Osis that way. I think the story was fine. It reintroduced Malgus, and it gave us some world bosses, and it encouraged us to kill those world bosses 6 times a week, every single week. Some people still were doing that on Sunday, actually. Like the operation ended, and or no, Sunday or Thursday, and there was a world boss calling out an allies chat on the Starforge, and it's just, hey, let's go kill the world bosses. And I'm sitting there, all just transitioning mentally to 6.0, and I'm like, why? What are we going to do with the Masterwork data crystal?
Yeah.
Which is another thing that 5.0 gave us is, these currencies, and
a lot of them are going away, or at least...
Thank God. Yeah. And so the game is very different, and it was kind of like a 3-stage period of time because of how the content flowed with each other. And the journey to sit on the throne and then not be sitting on the throne anymore.
Yeah. Deck is also saying for a tip of the week, if you have encrypted data cubes, you can get major XP boosts from those. So there you go. If you don't have any from leveling up anymore, which I do on all my characters, but maybe you don't. I don't know what everyone's experience, but yeah, if you don't, you can get them from encrypted data cubes if you have those. Those are a little hard to get nowadays.
Yeah.
That's something that that's like one of those things they decided they just weren't gonna do anymore. It was like, it felt too much like pay to win a little bit, so they decided not to do any other like cartel items that have quests and missions attached and stuff like that. Yeah, so yeah, I do have my character. I logged her out right next to the biochem trainer on the fleet, because you have to you have to open it up before you can start leveling up your crew missions again. So, and I think it's pretty expensive, at least on the test server. I think it was $500,000 to do that. So it's not cheap. Unless that was a test server thing, and I don't know, maybe it's changed, but anyway, yeah, so I think we can move on to the Jedi Mind Trap.
Yeah, so I wanted everyone to join in with us on how they're feeling with the download for our expansion today. So I put this question out actually over the weekend, and if anyone is familiar with doctor's offices, there's a questionnaire they give people for anxiety and depression that's structured exactly the same way as the Mind Trap this week. So just using a little bit of my profession as a fun laugh. But how over the last 2 weeks I felt excited for 6.0. Not at all. Several of the days, more than half the days, and nearly every day. So just putting a happy spin on questions I ask people every day.
And that's usually, but that you're usually asking them like if they're anxious or depressed or something every day?
Correct, right. So, just kind of having a clinical bit of fun with the Mind Trap this week.
Right, this is a much happier question, yes.
Much happier question, right? Hopefully SWTOR still gives you joy when you sign in, and that's why we play, right? So the responses from the audience, we have about 80 votes, and 44% say nearly every day they're feeling excited about 6.0 coming our way. And now we're here. And some people really are not, which I think it's awesome that you might not be excited for the game now, and maybe you only were in your past at this phase in your life, but you're still taking the time to see little things that I type and interact with me. So thanks even for people who 6.0, you're not planning on it being your thing. Just really cool that you're still paying attention to me and the podcast and chill, because as long as you were a part of the game, you're still an important part of the game. And I'm sure there are people that would love to see you sometime in the future sign in and just be like, whoa, you're back. But I'm assuming most of the people that hear this podcast are just like us, working on downloading the game and excited to see what's different and how does it affect our favorite way of playing and
Yes.
Is anyone going to kill Darth Malgus for real this time?
Yeah. Is he an options, operations boss? Who knows? We will find out. Dekion's even saying, Dekion answered every day for the past 2 weeks. And he says, I've thought about it since the PTS went down, and I miss my tactical and my new rotation. So, yeah.
Oh, man. So I want to just
some
ask
of those tacticals
Dekion,
are pretty nice.
Doing the operations without a tactical on the live server, it felt like something was wrong.
Oh, wow.
Which is so weird, because you're spending all that time figuring out how to work it into your rotation and make sure you activate it. And then it's not there at all. Because it was just the test server. So.
Which tactical you're referring to, just for reference? Because I'm curious.
Well, playing Lightning Sork, I don't remember what it's called, but there's one that causes an additional tick of a thunderstorm on an enemy that has Affliction or Thundering Blast or Chain Lightning or Crushing Darkness hit them.
Oh, okay.
So,
nice.
If you,
that sounds really powerful.
It can activate a certain number of times every period of time.
Right.
So if you do your rotation right, you can just cause these extra lightning bolts to start raining down on your target. And it's really awesome. The sound effect of all that lightning is really invigorating.
Because lightning is already pretty intense. Intense from what I've played it. Yeah, because like everything is lightning, or thunder at least. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So if you're getting all these extra procs, that means you're getting extra procs while you're already casting the next one. So by the time those finish, you're getting more lightning. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
My priority number one when we get into the game is to do everything I need to get that tactical.
Right. So, good news. Like, because when they did the patch notes, all the tacticals and all the set bonuses, they have little hints as to where you're most likely to get it. Because, as they say, every tactical and every set bonus can drop at any time, anywhere in the game, either as a random drop or from your renown boxes or whatever. But there often are specific ways. Like there's certain sort of like set bonuses that are very PvP friendly that are more likely to come out of the PvP boxes after you finish PvP missions, stuff like that. So what I would advise, if you have a tactical that you really want, is to look that up in the patch notes, and there's a link in our show notes, and it's on SWTOR.com, and it will give you a hint as to where to look for it. Is it from Flashpoint bosses? Is it from PvP boxes? Is it from operations bosses? Some of them are crafted, stuff like that. So
you're dropping tip of the week all over the show, Jill. Look at you. Did you vote in the Mind Trap?
Oh, I did. Yeah, of course, nearly every day. I mean, when you stream, you're thinking about it every day, and it's like, So I did. I think I mentioned it was even before the last show. I did enough. I did do enough stuff on the server to get the Kaizyken mount, so that's going to be fun too. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be hilarious. I'm curious if anyone's going to do like a cross Hoth run on the Kaizyken mount just to see how long it takes, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like crazy. Yeah. People love to do crazy stuff like that. It feels like that feels like something that would be a very MMO thing to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like west to east, Hoth on Kaizyken mount. How long was that? How long do you have to take? My guess is
an exclusive group too. Yeah. You can't participate if you don't PTS.
If you weren't on the PTS, yeah, exactly. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the gearing really sorted out, because it was very different from early test server to the phase 2 and phase 3 test server. Every phase was a little different in terms of how many drops you're getting and what and the disintegration and all that stuff. I'm really something else I'm really looking forward to is the crafting materials having their own special box, and it kind of coming out, leaving our inventories, so it's gonna be so nice, because my legacy bank is just, it has a little bit for gifts and a few other things, and then it's like 90% crew mission stuff, and now there's also a rank 11 stuff that I would not have any room for it anyway. So thank goodness there is special crew mission stuff for crafting materials. All go in the special crafting materials box, and they just kind of disappear into it, and it's just a little number, and you use it, and it's great.
Right.
And I'm so excited about that, and I'm gonna have to go through, you know, like my banking alt and then drop everything into it, so because you have to, at least on the test server, you had to like right click it to sort of get it to go, but maybe it'll be automated for this, but I don't know. We'll see. Either way, I'm looking forward to having room again in that box, and I can. What I figure is going to happen for a lot of people, and certainly for me, is especially once I have one character who's at max level, every time they get gear, it's going to be at that level, but most of it won't be for that. It won't be great for that character. So it's just going to, a lot of it, I'm going to save. I'm going to send it to my banking alt or whatever, or put in the legacy box, and then that way when I get a character, you know, of another class that it's appropriate for, when they hit 75, boom, they've got a bunch of gear that's, you know, right for them. They have possibly a couple of tacticals that they can try out, stuff like that. You know, so I think gear is going to be, for at least for me, it's in my legacy bank, is going to become like the new big space taker. That's likely for me. So
if that's how it ends up, then BioWare accomplished their goal. I mean, they want us to be overwhelmed by the receipt of gear.
Right. And it does feel like the first character is going to take a long time to gear up, because you have to get your gear level up and blah 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 blah. But once you're at that max gear level for drops, you know, anything that you get, you can just kind of save it, and then when you get a new character to 75, you can just slap a bunch of stuff on them, and even if it's not perfect, it'll raise their eye level, you know, their gear level up, so that they're already immediately getting good stuff like right away.
Yep.
And so those alts are gonna be really easy to gear up once they hit 75. The first one is gonna take a while for sure, and exactly how long I don't know, but yeah, we'll see. And you know, some people will be faster than others, and probably way faster than me, because you know, I like to watch the story and, you know, do all these alts and stuff. Although this time I definitely want to get my main up to 75 and actually work on some gearing. And at some point pretty soon, though, I will work on the mirror class, so I can get, but that's obviously a 1 to 75 adventure, so that's a long time to go. That's actually one thing that I hadn't talked about. On the test server, we got to try the Nautilins. I do want to do Nautilin, and for a long time I was looking at doing like a Mind Flayer from D&D, but they just don't look enough like it, because the Mind Flayers, like, the tentacles are coming out of their mouths. With the Nautilins, it's behind their heads. It's just not, they just didn't look similar enough. So I can't really, you know, and I didn't really want to do a KotFE or something that was sort of very, you know, on the nose Star Wars related. So I think I'm just going to do an RP character instead of like a cosplay character, and I'll come up with a story. I'll come up with a look. I'll come up with like a, you know, a backstory and all that stuff, and then we'll go from there. It will be the mirror class, so it will be an assassin inquisitor. And but other than that, you know, I'll have to come up with some ideas, and I'm looking forward to that too. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. But I definitely want to get to 75 first and start seeing some of those drops and see how that works. So
awesome.
Yeah.
I don't have a plan to create any new characters. I think my current goal is get my main sorcerer ready for ops at the highest level possible.
Right.
And probably finish the story during that process, because I do have a vested interest in seeing how well I can sabotage the Sith Empire, because that's what I decided to do when I was on Osis. I still can't believe I made that choice, but that's the choice I made. And you know, just when Juan is asking, "What are you going to do?" I was like, "Well, I'm going to destroy the Empire." So, but I'm still throwing lightning. So that's really important to me. I don't like pebbles and lights.
That's pretty cool.
I like lightning, but I don't mind helping the good guys out with my aggressive stance on the Force. So, you know, I think we can wrap up the Mind Trap chill and move on to maybe a little bit about the patch notes and list a few things that we're really proud of that happened for us in 5.0, and then our final ideas about what we hope 6.0 can do for the way we play, or for us specifically. And then we'll let the rest of our audience jump in and play 6.0 and have fun with it.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people are doing that right now. All right, so if you go to SWTOR.com/patch notes, that will give you the patch notes for 6.0. Because they're really long, I didn't include all of them in the show notes, but I did get ones that I want to talk about. If you're interested in the tacticals and the set bonuses for your class and for your specific type within that class, then definitely go to the patch notes, because it will tell you exactly, you know, what tacticals are. You can look at them, and then for the ones you want, you can see like where you're more likely to get them, stuff like that. So pretty good spot to go as far as that goes. In terms of some of the other just general patch notes that I wanted to touch on, there is a change to the Outlander tokens. They can no longer be used to start a level 65 character at the start of KotET. This has been replaced by a new entry point with a level 70 character at the start of the Jedi Under Siege storyline. In other words, right before Malgus returns. So this is Ossus, basically. So yeah, so now you can either do a 60 and do all of KotFE KotET and then continue from there. That's with a different token, or with what was the Outlander token, and it's now called something else. Then you start at level 70 and you're past KotFE KotET and you start with Ossus. Yeah, so some interesting general notes that I thought, ooh, I just heard the noise.
Yes.
Mine is patched as well. Not bad, considering I'm streaming. I'm outgoing streaming. I'm recording as well, so it can become a YouTube video. I've got the patch notes. I've got a Discord open with you, Doc, and then I've got Twitch open as well. It's a lot going on, and it still managed to do it in 45 minutes, so not bad. Right. So some changes. There were some changes to to conquest and so on. Guilds will now remain as conquering a planet until a new guild conquers it. So that's kind of cool. Preferred status players at level 75 can now earn renown XP at a 1/4 rate, 25% rate. So it'll be pretty slow. But if you're,
you can do it.
Yeah, but if you exactly, you'll need obviously you will need to be subscribed at this point, because you have to be, unlocking level 75 and unlocking Onslaught and all that. But if you then let it drop, you can still gain renown XP, but it will be at a much reduced rate. But at least it won't be 0. Existing command crates can still be opened via the command stash, but they can no longer be disintegrated, and that's because most of the stuff that it disintegrates into is no longer in the game, essentially. It got changed to very small amounts of credits, by the way. So if you had piles of unassembled components, you got a few credits for it, unfortunately. Not a lot. But they kind of warned us that was about what was going to happen. As far as renown goes, all players have been set to renown rank 0. Players will be able to start earning renown XP once you hit level 75, in other words, the new max, kind of like command was. All renown ranks, however, are equal in value. So in other words, you don't have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, nor do the amount of renown that you're going to need for the next level. That will never change. It's always the same amount. It's a very high amount. It was 160,000 on the test server. And for an example, if I had a double renown boost going and I did the weekly for CZ 198, so you get that and you get the weekly as well. Normally that's like 5 or 6, something like that, command crates. But it's only 1 renown box plus maybe 10 or 20% of the next level. So it's a lot. You're gonna get a lot fewer crates, but the amount of renown will never go up, at least. So there's that.
Have they said what the maximum renown rank is before you just start triggering the same number?
I don't know. I don't know if there is one. If so, I haven't seen it. It's quite possible there is one. It's also possible there just isn't one. Who knows? Guess we'll find out.
That would be neat.
That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, I'm renowned level 5,200.
Right. So when we do our OotiniCast for 7.0 in 2022, we can compare our renown ranks.
Here's hoping before that, but yeah, but we'll exactly.
No. Okay. So let's cut that one off right now. I don't believe 7.0 will take 3 years to get here. Right. I was just joking. So nobody go throwing Dr SWTOR quotes on Twitter. No.
Right. So so all these renown ranks are equal in value. There's no tiers. They have the same renown XP requirements that never goes up, although it is very high. But all the crates that they award gear relevant to your character's currently selected discipline and average item rating. There is going to be a function where you can tell it to choose a different discipline.
Right.
Let's not worry about that right this second. Yeah. Basically, normally what happens is it looks at your selected discipline, and then it looks at your current average item rating that you have equipped, which means, like, also if you get higher gear, like higher renown level gear, or sorry, item level gear, than you have, but it's not useful, like if you're a damage, but it's tank gear, but it's several points up, what you can do is just keep it in inventory, and then when you're about to open a box, put on the highest gear level possible, and then open the box, so it's looking at the highest gear level that you've got. So
tip of the week, number 7.
Tip of the week 7, exactly. All right. There are some changes to the fleet. They are colorizing the 4 quadrants in different ways, so that if you're in a quadrant, you will immediately know, once you learn what color means what, you'll know exactly where you are on the fleet. There's also going to be taxis added to the fleet, which will take you between the quarters, which is kind of nice, especially for the people who just get there at level 10 or even possibly level 9, don't even have a mount, or free to play and don't have access to a mount yet. Stuff like that. So that'll be nice.
That's going to be great, because when I'm on the Republic side and everything's backwards and in the wrong spot. Yeah, definitely. Republic side, everything's in the wrong spot.
I know.
The Empire is much better organized. Supplies in the top left. It just makes sense. And, that's that. Okay. It's going to help because I can learn what color supplies is. And when I open the map, there we go. I'm ready to make it where I want to go, no matter which fleet I'm on.
Right. The first time a player boots SWTOR, it will now default to their current monitor resolution, which is kind of cool because it's always sort of like defaulted to a weird one, then you had to figure it out. And I can always change it. Like if it accidentally, because I use dual monitors, if it accidentally defaults to like a double wide dual monitor thing, well, I don't want that because I'm streaming. So I'll have to, and if it does that, I'll just have to readjust it back. But still, it'll be nice, especially for new players. It feels like something that should already be in the game, because it makes it more friendly for people who are just learning, just new to the game, like as opposed to patching in and realizing, oh wow, this is the wrong resolution, then having to fix it in a brand new game, that sort of thing.
Some people don't know much about computers either, so that can be really shocking.
Right.
When you're excited to download this new Star Wars game and it's a really tiny screen that you can't even move on the top left. Mm-hmm. Once you learn how to fix it, you always know. But I think it's great they made it so that won't happen to people.
Right. Now that they did make some improvements to free to play and especially to preferred players not too long ago, but they've added some better ones now. Well, first of all, it now you can. Free to play and preferred now have access to the first 2 expansions, so Makeb, Rise of the Hutt Cartel, and Shadow of Revan, which is Rishi and Yavin 4, and also level 60 instead of level 50. So that's important. Also, though, free to play players can now play 10 war zones per week, up from 5. Free to play players can now receive rewards from 10 flashpoints per week, up from 3. So that's quite a jump. And free-to-play players can now play 10 space PvE missions, the on-rail ones, per week, up from 5. So 10 for each of those instead of 5, 3, or 5. So that's pretty nice. As far as your character goes, the utilities, the discipline utilities, there used to be 4 different tiers. Each of them had 6 of them, so there was 24 of them. There's still 24 of them, but they're now in 3 tiers of 8 utilities each. The reason for that is that you get 1 more point now on your way to level 75, so you're going to have 9. So they decided to go 3, 3, 3 instead of, having to figure out, well, where do we put this other point? So the utilities have been shuffled around some. What I generally found when I did the test server was that, if it was of those 4 tiers that it was before. If it was the first tier and if it was the last tier, those are pretty much going to be the first and last tiers for the new ones. And then for the middle 2 tiers, some of those end up being in the new middle tier, and then some of them have to drop either down to the first tier or up to the final tier. And that's kind of how it goes. And you'll just have to check out your own discipline to see where all those ended up. And in some cases, it might end up with like different ones kind of available to you depending on how you did things before. So it might be very useful for you. It might be a bit of a hindrance, or it might be kind of a big nothing burger. It's all good. And either way, there's going to be 9 points instead of 8. So more than likely, you're going to end up pretty happy because, overall, on average, people are going to have more options. So pretty good. They also removed all the absorb shield abilities from companions in healing mode and replaced it by a new ability, KotET or Trauma Probe, which gives a direct heal which restores health to the player when damage is taken. So I'm not sure. I had some thoughts on why they did this. My guess is that because basically, functionally, this is practically the same thing. Either you shield, you don't take the damage, but the shield goes away, or in the case of a KotET or Trauma Probe, you take damage and then you get a heal right back. Well, assuming the numbers are the same, which I don't know if they are, they don't specify that. If the numbers are the same, the only functional difference I can think of is sometimes, like, if you're being shielded, certain effects won't take place. Like, some things will only affect you if you actually take damage, and if you're shielded, you're protected from that ability. So it's possible that in some edge cases, like companions were helping too much in certain storylines or whatever against certain bosses. Or maybe it was causing bugs, who knows. But in any case, they decided to change it. It's not a shield anymore, but if you take damage, you're going to get a heal back, and it's probably going to be about the same. A new passive ability has been added for companions to the healer role. The passive will cause the companion to leap to a friendly target when they are near the max range to be healed. There was a time about 6 months ago or so, and then it went back for a good bit before that, where the healers were just kind of like dragging behind, and they'd constantly go out of range. You could actually die and wonder why, and then realize, oh, my companion was 33 meters away, and all their heals are 30-meter range. And so they are instead pulling out their gun and shooting instead of actually being helpful. So they did seem to fix that. So I don't know why they decided to go an extra step, but they did. Now, the companions have done a good job of sort of like keeping in range as far as I've been able to tell since they made that fix a while ago. But now they're taking another step, and if they do seem to be getting out of range, they will actually jump to you now. So that's kind of cool.
It seems like it would help with their AI, though, because the way that you get this to happen before this changes, you tell the companion to switch to the passive move, which is button 2 for them. And then they stop whatever they're doing and just kind of appear next to you.
Yeah.
And then you can run away.
It's true.
With this set the way it is, you now would not remove them from combat. They will just notice when you're exiting the range for heals. So
yeah,
I hope probably will.
I hope so.
If you're going to run and not engage the fight, you probably still need to set them to passive. But this way, it makes them feel a little bit more intelligent.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll definitely. There's definitely gonna be some cases where this is better than it was. So I'm happy about that. There's some slight nerfs to companion healing, or at least changes. So we'll go over those real quick because anyone who's doing solo stuff is gonna probably notice this. Because I think most people, because it usually tends to be the easiest, keeps their companions on heals. There's unless you're like a healer yourself, and then usually you do damage. I suppose there's some people who must do tank. I like to practice
my defensive moves, so I actually do DPS companion when I'm in DPS, so that you get that rush of like, am I going to die?
Well, you won't notice this so much then. Yeah, that'll be nice. The one time I do use tank companions is when I'm someone who has like backstab abilities, because otherwise they're always facing me because they're always focused on me. The healing threat is not enough to pull them off usually. Anyway, so healing companions.
Tip of the week again, chill.
Yeah. Channeled healing abilities for companions to the healer role have had their cooldown increased to 8 seconds from 0, which is actually, for me, technically that's a nerf, but to me that's actually nice, because a lot of times I would turn off that channeled one because otherwise they would never do any damage, because they always had an ability on cooldown. As long as someone was below 100%, they'd be using their little mini channel. And the channel doesn't really do a whole hell of a lot of healing anyway. I'm hoping that they also buff the amount of healing it does, since they're also increasing the cooldown, but it doesn't say that, so I can't swear to that. In any case, at least now I won't have to take it off of their automatic button. So I can just leave that one on, and at least they'll do some damage, because there will be times when they just don't have any cooldowns to use, and they'll at least do some damage at that point. Single target direct healing abilities for companions in the healer role have had their cooldowns increased to 10 seconds, up from 8. So that is just a straight nerf. And there's nothing really good about that, obviously. I guess the idea is like maybe they felt it was a little too easy, for healing mode as opposed to some of the other modes. So they want people to experiment with the other modes. But anyway, so you'll definitely notice some reduction in healing for sure. And companions in the healer role will now only cast their large single target heal on the player once they go below 80% health, which is nice because they do tend to like spam their abilities. So that's pretty cool. That's a little smarter. And so that actually I do consider a buff, actually, because your biggest companion heal will not be wasted on overheal so much. So, it depends on how much like solo stuff you're doing. If you're doing solo stuff all the time, you'll notice this. And if you're more of a Warzone person or a Flash Zone guy, then you won't even notice this. All crew skills can now be leveled to rank 700. Visit their respective trainer on the fleet to train up. That's where I logged out. So yeah, I'll be doing that as soon as I log in, so I can get that going.
I'd say you're looking forward to that one, Chill.
I don't know why. Yeah, the funny thing is I'm not a huge crafter. It's like I just like having that and watching the numbers go up, I guess.
You like completing the lists. That's
yeah, exactly.
Can I read the next one?
Sure.
I feel like this one is definitely a me thing.
It's definitely up your alley.
The lockout for story mode operations is now 24 hours. So now I don't need to have 7 sorcerers on one server.
That's right.
I can just help people out on story mode ops.
That's right.
Well,
once a
especially
day.
now since story mode ops are going to be where I'm at for a little bit until the gear climbs back up. So
yeah, this
is really awesome. I can't wait to see how it works, and especially with bosses like the Xeno Analyst and the Eye List.
Yeah.
And
of course, for another tip of the week is like, if you're doing leveling, doing a story mode operation when you hit level 50, if you could get into a story mode operation with a guild or whatever, huge amounts of XP, and I assume that's going to be the same here. So yeah. I mean, it won't help you with the storyline and so on, but if you're just looking to get a bunch of XP, I'll bet you story mode operations are still going to be an amazing place to do it.
I would agree.
Yeah.
And I want to, for the next part of the notes, all current set bonuses will stop functioning at level 75.
Right. So we even had tips of the week about this, where getting the set gear because it's going to be on the set piece, not on the armoring anymore. And that will help you, but only until 75, and then that sucker's turned off, and you're not going to be able to use those set bonuses anymore. You're going to have to look for the new renown gear. For set bonuses.
That's actually so different, because collecting those legacy pieces of gear has been a part of the game for a long time, and now you have to use the shell.
Right.
So if you're not following the game and you're just coming back, that might be a bit confusing. But you're going to only enjoy those old school set bonuses until you reach max level, and then you really have to go get some of the new renown gear system drops.
Yep.
So get ready for that, everybody.
Yeah. And we haven't mentioned it here, and I don't think it's in the patch notes either, but basically all the 75 gear drops legacy. So, if you get a renown box, open it up, it's going to be legacy gear. Whether you can use it or not, or whether you want to use it or not, is another point, but it is going to be legacy gear. So you don't have to have a bunch of, legacy shells to shuffle stuff around. You can just take it and just mail it off to your bank alt or whatever alt, you want it to. So that'll
also that includes
nice
the
thing,
left
actually.
Side pieces. So your earpiece, your implants, your relics, and
which is going to be huge.
You used to have to at least grind the actual character to get those.
Yep. Not anymore.
Now the full set of gear can be swapped over.
Yeah. All right. And by the end of the Onslaught main story, a character will be granted a full set of item rating 268 gear. So that's pretty important news, because I hadn't really heard that before. So this is going to be like, it happened in Osus as well, where it didn't have set bonuses or anything, but it was like, I can't remember the exact level. It was like 238 or 240 or something like that. But it was really solid if you had just leveled up. You know, it was definitely an upgrade if you had just gotten 270 and then you were doing Osus. It was usually a pretty big upgrade. You know, for people who had, you know, otherwise it wasn't. But this is actually pretty good news, especially for the first time you're leveling up, because the first time you're leveling up, this is getting to 268 even is going to be tricky. So it'll be nice to just have that 268 gear, so it's not going to be like, oh gosh, I still have a, you know, I still have a 248 relic because I just haven't gotten the right drop or whatever. You're going to have at least the 268, which is pretty cool.
But will they be the right relics, Chill?
You know,
I swear to God, Primeval Fate Sealer does not need to be in this game.
All I know is, you know, if it's not the right one, but it's a higher gear level, it's going to be in my inventory, ready to be swapped out for whenever I open a box.
Yeah, roll need on tank relics, all DPS.
That's right.
Alienate friends, destroy relationships, but get the eye level up.
Here's another like little mini symbol of like the end of the KotFE KotET era is returning companions will now appear on player ships, because of course they had disappeared from our player ships for a long time, and now they're going to be back. I assume this is basically just class ones plus Treek, I would assume, because Treek has always been there as well. I assume it's just the class ones still. Maybe if you get other ones, but we'll have to test that. It's like if you get like Bodar, but you weren't a scoundrel, is Bodar going to show up? I don't think so, but we'll see.
I don't think so.
I think it's just going to be the class stories, but still, it'll be nice to go out the occasions when you do go on your ship. Hey, you know, there's Nadia or whoever your class character is, companion is. So that'll be nice, and it is, like I say, it's sort of a return to classic form, which is nice. All right, players who've completed the mission Hearts and Minds will find the first mission of Onslaught in their mission log. So what the Hearts and Minds was, after Osus, and then a little bit after that, they did the Hearts and Minds bit. And the Hearts and Minds is like, you are basically doing a little interview, and you either try to pump up, you know, your side, or if you're secretly working for the opposite side, you can actually do choices which kind of undermine morale for that side. If you've done it, you probably remember it, because like there's a whole series of cutscenes about it, and you appear on the news and everything else. It's after Osus. So if you've completed that, then that's essentially the last of the story until Onslaught. And so if you finish Hearts and Minds, it will now give you Onslaught in your mission log. So, and then Conquest related, there's a bunch of stuff. So I just kind of put it all together here. Conquest is changing by quite a bit. You might remember they like started giving you like a lot of points just for regular kills and stuff like that, and people are like massively over conquering their conquest goals. It's like, you know, if you did an operation, you would usually finish your conquest goal like when you're 2/3 through the operation, stuff like that. So now the points required to complete a personal conquest has been increased to 50,000, up from 15,000. So that's, yeah, 35,000 more points that you need, which is a lot. This is kind of like going
15 more minutes of playing. Chill.
I don't know. 50,000 is actually quite a bit.
So, before we read the rest of these bullet points, I think the reason they made that change when they did is because they were looking at what are the point values that people land at.
Yes.
And when I look at this 50,000, I think that that's the number they settled on, so that people who were reaching Quest before still will.
Right.
It's just a more fast-paced, frequently point-earned system.
It is.
And I think
this is kind of, you're right. This is kind of going back to like the pre-change where, you know, you kind of had to look at the missions, the conquest missions, and try to figure out which ones you could do and all that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. I think teams that were clearing the 1 million before, even though it's at 5 million now, I think they'll still clear it. I think it's based on our player behavior the last 4 or 5 months.
Yeah. And now, of course, you get more conquest points, like the more difficult the enemies. So I'm assuming that, you know, as you go towards level 75, every time you kill a mob, you're going to be getting more and more, you know, conquest points as well. So, you know, it probably won't be as onerous as maybe it feels like at first, but we'll see. I definitely think, like, you know, if you have a main and you're playing the character pretty regularly, several times a week, you're probably going to still hit it. It's just not going to be one of those gimme things where you can hit it on 8 different characters by doing 8 different story mode operations and just walking away.
Yeah, I've been getting it chill seriously in under 15 minutes.
Wow. Yeah.
Playing a hard mode op, like, it just triggers on the trash between boss 1 and 2. I have not tried to do Conquest in months,
right.
And I like this change a lot. I think Conquest should be something that the player is working on.
Right. It does feel like something that should be, a goal and not just a gimme. I agree. And it definitely will be now, at least.
Yeah,
we'll see, but it feels like it should be based on that change. The points, and then they also changed the actual guild amount for Conquest. So small yield invasions increased to 500,000, up from 170,000. For medium, 2 million, up from 550,000. And for large yield guild invasions, it's now 5 million, up from 1.13 million. So pretty huge differences, roughly the same percentage, I would say. I didn't actually do the math, but it looks about right. So they're basically doing the same thing for guilds as they were for personal. Completing personal conquests and guild invasions now grants tech fragments and conquest equipment crates. So conquest equipment crates are in fact one place where you can get there's like certain tacticals and stuff that are going to be more likely to drop from those. So, you know, if you're lucky and you're looking for one that comes from a conquest equipment crate, well, that's how you're going to do it. You're going to work towards it. And the tech fragments are very nice. They let you go to the Kaizyken or just the tech fragment vendor on the fleet, and you get gear that way as well. You can also, I believe, you also use tech fragments to get renown boosts if you need them. Now, of course, hopefully you've got the old command boosts, because if you have the old command boosts, they should now be renown boosts, and you can use those instead. But if you don't have any, you know, maybe you're new to the game, or just for whatever reason use them all, or whatever, you should still be able to buy them, and tech fragments are a way to do that. The points earned for completing conquest objectives have been raised by a ratio in line with the guild invasion targets. So yeah, in other words, when you finish a mission, it's actually going to be going up by more as well. So when you get the rampage, when you get the galactic rampage, it's going to give you more points. So that's kind of nice. That makes it a little bit easier as well. So yeah, so overall, you know, some interesting notes there, I thought. And again, if we've kind of talked about all the set tacticals and set bonuses and so on in the previous episodes of OotiniCast. So if you really want to know like what the final versions are, because probably some of them have changed, you just go to the show notes. There's a link to the patch notes, or you just go to SWTOR.com/patch notes, and you can just look up for your class and for your preference within that class. And just look and see what's available, see where it comes from, see what the bonuses are. It's all good stuff. However, there are some known issues in Onslaught, and they just did a drop about this shortly before the show. And by the way, Onslaught is, just for the historical record, Onslaught is active right now. They announced that Onslaught was available like just over an hour before we started the show. And so we're really excited to go play it, but, you know, we got to finish our show first. And like I say, I've got to do editing because otherwise I'm going to be too tempted. But they did do a thing about known issues in Onslaught. So these are going to be pretty important. Well, some of them are going to be important. Some of them are just going to be kind of good to know. The first one was very interesting to me because it actually answered a question that I had, that I even asked, that I never got an answer back on, but this answers it indirectly. The issue is that Nautilands do not have dark side corruption. So that tells me they meant to have dark side corruption, which is what I wanted to know. So yes, so if you're going to do a Nautilin, you can have dark side corruption. However, unfortunately, it is a bug. It is a known issue, and Nautilins don't have it right now, but they will. Enhancements do not have amplifiers, so they intended that. And I saw on the test server, you could see like it wasn't just the full gear pieces that had amplifiers. Individual armorings and mods and so on would have amplifiers as well. However, enhancements do not have amplifiers. If we add them in the future, they will be granted retroactively to all eligible enhancements. The lockout UI does not properly display that story mode operation lockouts reset every 24 hours. So that's just a UI thing. Creature companions are not displaying accuracy on their companion character sheet. Okay, well, some of these are smaller than other ones. Creature companions are doing less damage than intended while in DPS mode. Now that's kind of important if you use a creature companion. That'd be like the Act Dog, I assume, stuff like that. The Ducks in Operation does not have a weekly mission. That'll be important to people who do operations. I would assume that that's one of the ones they will be working on first, I would hope. Companion Influence does not update properly in the character sheet. It doesn't say whether it's updating properly, as far as SWTOR itself goes, you know what I mean? If it's just a UI thing or if it's actually not giving you a new influence. So I'm not sure which one that is right now. It is possible to buy unidentified items from Takata without a discipline selected. Doing so will cost tech fragments, but not grant the player an item. Okay, so if you have, basically, if you have a newer character, you should be 75, you should have a discipline, but if you don't, maybe you use the token or whatever, or you're one of those old school players who never even did an advanced class because, you're doing it hard style. But if you don't have your actual discipline selected, it's going to cost you tech fragments to buy something from Takata and not get you an item. So don't do that. Don't buy anything from Takata unless you've got your discipline selected. Yeah, so the tooltip for Trinchin's Retort's 4-piece set bonus is not updating properly, but it is functioning correctly. Let's see, absorb shields on NPCs are showing both damaged and absorb combat text. I don't know why that's a problem, but okay. Let's see, a couple of things are missing icons. Crafted tactical items cannot be deconstructed. That's a bug, but it presumably will be fixed. Crafting materials in the material inventory list do not show quality. Quality is working on mouse over tooltips. So that's hopefully something they'll fix eventually, but I just love the materials inventory. Thank goodness that's in the game. When augmenting gear, augment kits that are in your cargo hold will show up as available but are not currently usable. Okay. Workaround, place augment kits in your inventory before augmenting your gear. Yeah, well, kind of makes sense. The bonus mission, a strategic offering, asks for players to get Zakeg claws, but there are no Zakegs in the area. Workaround, Arnacox in the area drop Arnacox spurs, which count as the Zakeg claw for the mission. There you go. The following set bonuses have discrepancies in their tooltips but function as intended. Refer to the patch notes for their proper descriptions. So the in-game description will be incorrect for these sets. The Concentrated Fire set, Dire Retaliation set, Tactician set, Meteor Brawler set, Apex Predator set, and Concentrated Fire set. And similar with the following tacticals. The tacticals function as intended but don't have the right tooltips in the game. You can check for the patch notes for the correct descriptions. Energize Blade Tactical, B0 Differential Targeting System Tactical, Ruthless Interrogation Tactical, and Acid Lash Tactical. Let's see. A couple of minor things that I'm not going to worry about. The second boss in story mode, Duxon 8 and 16 player, is not dropping loot. That's obviously important. The character conversation at the top of the Corellia Spire will sometimes hang when initiated by walking into the room. The workaround is to escape the conversation and trigger it manually, so that's not so bad. When your companion harvests from a harvesting node, you will not receive a chat notification or a loot window, but the materials will be placed in your materials inventory as intended. Not so bad. Might be a little distracting, like if you see that the node goes away but you didn't notice anything else. But apparently it is putting it in your stash, so that's good. Starting the Onslaught main story mission by running into the phase gate will hang on loading. The workaround is to start the mission by pressing the play button in your mission log, or if you zoned into the phase gate, simply press escape and talk directly to Malgus. There you go. So, you know, naturally, a few bugs. When they did when they did update to Onslaught, they were expecting a 6-hour window. It ended up adding another hour, so it was a 7-hour window. But, you know, like I say, it is going now. Yep. Something that I thought was really cool I saw from SWTOR shortly after it started is she tweeted out that SWTOR fixed it so there's more Nautilin female face options. They're still not similar to the NPCs in-game. She also provided a picture of that, but I'm not doing that in the show notes. There are, she says, I think there's more than enough options for everyone to find something they like. And then she had a little picture put up nicely of all of the various face styles now. The Nautilins, you'll notice, at least I noticed, you know, on the test server and here, even with these variations, like the variations are not super different from each other. Like they're kind of samey-same to me. But they're different enough that, you know, you can find something that's a little calmer looking, a little angrier looking, stuff like that. So so there are more face versions for female Nautilins, which is kind of cool. I am planning on making Nautilin still. I think it'll be male, but I'm not sure now, so we'll see. But yeah, it's always nice when they have more options. I'm always happy to see that. They also dropped some new Cartel Market gear. We'll put it in the show notes. There's a couple that I want to highlight, though, here. One is the Malgus Restored Armor Set. Very cool looking. It is definitely Malgus. It is different from the Osis one. Because if you remember in Osis, like his left bicep was sort of exposed, and then he had like some cybernetic stuff sort of gouged into his flesh. Well, his upper left bicep on this armor, although it's a character, not Malgus himself, shown wearing it, but the upper left bicep area is completely armored now. So apparently Malgus has fixed himself, which makes sense because it's called Restored. Malgus Restored Armor Set. And it's pretty cool looking. It's very reminiscent of the original Malgus, like from the Deceived trailer, but it is updated as well, and it's pretty badass. Pretty cool. The Arctic Trooper is pretty cool. Not, I especially like the helmet. I think that helmet's really cool looking, actually.
Yeah, that is a cool looking Stormtrooper helmet.
Yeah. And then the other one I wanted to check out was the Jantan Dual Ray Mount. It has a really, 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 really sweet flourish. Basically, it's a speeder where you're sitting in the middle and there's like little short stubby wings and then like pod racing type engines to the sides. And what happens with the flourish is the little wings kind of flap open and the engines either start in the middle or go out, or they go to the out and they go back to the middle. So, and then the wings reclose like around the engines if they're in the middle. It's pretty cool. I think that looks really, really slick. So I'm excited to see that one in the game. I always have to check mounts before I buy them because unfortunately even the new preview doesn't have sounds, and for me the way a mount sounds often determines whether I can use it or not, because certain, especially like pod racing ones and other speeders, have sort of like a high-pitched whine as part of their normal running noise, and it bothers me. There's certain ones I just can't use because of that. So assuming it doesn't have that issue for me, I'm definitely excited to try out this mount. That looks so cool. The dual ray mount. There's also a new Zakeg mount. Like they were talking about that one mission where the Zakegs weren't dropping the right things. Well, now we know what a Zakeg looks like. It's basically lizard dinosaur-ish. It's like a scaly, lizardy dinosaur. Lots of spikes on its back and tail. Good stuff. Good stuff. I like that one a lot, actually. There's a lot of good creature mounts in the game now, and that some of them kind of go by, and it's like there's all of a sudden I'll notice that there's a new creature mount in the game that I hadn't noticed really. It's like, oh, that's a new creature mount, and I don't really notice. This one's actually pretty cool. I could see going out of my way for this one. So
yeah. Their first batch of Cartel Market stuff that hit today is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good stuff.
I'm excited to see which things I might come across but probably nothing today.
Right. And finally, the Rise of Skywalker trailer came out just last night. Pretty exciting stuff. Of course, I watched it several times. I'm sure you did too, Doc. Did you get your tickets?
Yeah, I got my tickets. It was really tough. Phoenix, it was a very competitive experience. I just kept jumping into different times, and it would give you that window before you select your seats that this show is sold out, this show is sold out, this show is sold out. So
wow.
But I did get my tickets. I'll be seeing it on that Thursday night, and bringing a lot of friends with me. So
very cool.
It was my job to be the upfront purchaser of all the tickets.
Yeah, I got my tickets. I'm gonna see it. I think Thursday is like the first day where some places are starting to show it, like in Thursday evening. But I'm gonna see it Friday morning. There's a wide availability of tickets at that point because it's kind of midday, and it's that's just mid-December. So it's gonna be IMAX. I'm gonna see it in IMAX, so I'm very excited for that as well. Not 3D though, because I'm okay with 3D, but I'm going to take my girlfriend to it, and she does not like the 3D always bothers her eyes. Like, it creates more problems than it's worth. So it's just going to be good old standard IMAX, but I'm very excited to see it on the big screen. And and what did you think about the trailer?
Oh, I loved it. I probably watched it over 25 times last night.
Nice. Yeah, there's some interesting details there, of course, with C-3PO and with some of the what's clearly like broken Death Star bits. So is this happening on Endor? I don't know. There's definitely some foresty stuff that could be Endor. And if we've got chunks of dead Death Star, well, you figure that's either got to be Endor or, it can't really be the first one, because they even show like the throne room, unless there was a throne room on the first throne one that we just never saw. But presumably it's the one from Jedi, and which kind of places it on Endor to me. But who knows? There could be another planet in the system, or or whatever. And and the I'm sure it's already sort of a famous now shot of all the Resistance ships. It's like a Resistance ship poster, like sometimes you see posters of like showing like all the different ships from different sci-fi shows and stuff like that, and they're different sizes. That felt like one of those where it's like so many ships of different sizes and different types. And some people have pointed out, oh, this one looks like the one from Rebels, and this one looks like this one, blah blah blah. So yeah, very 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 cool shot there. A lot of interesting shots, actually, I thought. And we'll see how it goes.
The Falcon's original radar dish restored in that shot too?
It could be, yeah. You know what? I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that could be.
Instead of the rectangular one.
Yeah, and then there's the stuff that could be like from the Tantive 4, because I think you see it in the Resistance shot, but also there's that scene with like the white room, and it doesn't really look Empire. It looks more like the Tantive 4 from the very opening shots of Star Wars, with all the white walls and everything. And Rey and Kylo Ren are destroying something, some sort of weird obelisk or a statue or something.
Yeah.
But all the walls were sort of white, like on the Tantive. But maybe it's not the Tantive. Maybe it's somewhere else. Who knows? Yeah, lots of hints about Palpatine that they were very careful not to actually commit anything to, But right. Ian McDiarmid's voice is always a plus. It's always a big win.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I'm excited.
Yep. Yeah, and according to Atom Tickets, Rise of Skywalker broke records set by Avengers Endgame for first-hour ticket purchases by a full 45%. So it's quite a beat there. However, on a personal level, this is 1 hour, and it's one service. There's a lot of, ticket services out there, and there's a lot of time to go before December and before the movie opens and we see how it actually does. But it's a good sign, and it's going to be exciting to see it with friends and to see it with Star Wars fans on those first few days. So very exciting.
It definitely will. I'm excited. I don't really want to speculate too much. I'm really trying to keep my expectations in a reasonable spot. I just want to enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
But the trailer has a lot of really exciting things. Things, on the edge of the screen or parts of the screen that your eyes aren't naturally drawn to. It's a very rich story trailer, I think, without much story in it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So, yeah, there's not that it's hard to find, but I do have a link to the YouTube for the for the trailer in the show notes as well. And I even made a little picture out of a screenshot, and it's the one where Rey and Chewie are in the Millennium Falcon's cockpit and they're looking at each other, and Poe and Finn are in the background. Yeah, good stuff. Very excited for that as well. But right now, I'm excited to wrap this up. Go maybe unwind a little bit, get a little food, come back, edit, and then jump into Onslaught. How about you, Doug?
Sounds like a plan. Thanks, Chill.
Yeah.
Enjoy 6.0.
Thanks, you too. I can't wait to see, in the next show, how you do, how fast you get there. Do you, are you leveling up more than one character? Have you done anything else in the game? How are the operations going? All that. Have you done Duxon? Have you done Corellia, Flashpoint, all that stuff? I can't wait to hear, what you do in the next show. And
oh yeah, this is actually going to be the biggest influx of content since I've been on the show. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm really excited to see what that feels like.
Totally. I'm really excited. All right, then, that's the show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Steel Shan server, or in our Guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live bi-weekly on Tuesdays at noon Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby. And thank you to the chat room. And I can't wait to get in the game, Doc.
Yep, looking forward to it. Till next time.
All right, we'll see you next show. Thanks for coming, everyone. And yeah, Deck, especially you. Have a good first day of Onslaught, and I'll be getting in there as soon as I can, so have a good one. All right, I'm gonna stop the stream, stop the recording.